What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, this is a long overdue video that I wanted to get out sooner, but I actually talked about this on another channel, so you might have already seen these grades before, you might not have, but I wanted to come on my channel, share my overall raw thoughts about the Patriots 2023 draft class, go by each player, each pick, grade each pick, and then give an overall grade for the Patriots' entire draft here. So this is something I've done each and every single year. The fun part about this is that this year I graded. A year from now, we're going to look back at these grades that I give you in this video, and we're going to regrade them based off of how these players performed year one for the Patriots in this system. So without further ado, let's hop into today's video. Now, guys, before I hop into today's video, I do want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this channel, FanDuel. Guys, right now, make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs. The Celtics have been a little bit up, a little bit down, but they have been playing some very, very good basketball right now. And some very interesting basketball at that. Right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Again, that is $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. For those who don't know what a no sweat first bet is if you are, and I want to preface, a new user, you can essentially bet up to $1,000. If your bet does not hit, you will get compensated back in bonus bets from FanDuel up to $1,000. So if you're new, you literally have absolutely nothing to lose. So go ahead and check them out. The thing that I love most about FanDuel is the fact that they have new promotions every single day, guys. I'm always checking back. Whether you are a new user or you've been here for years, FanDuel every single day has new promotions that everybody can use to either get you some easy money or to be able to give you the ability to make bets and not have to worry about losing your money. So go ahead and check out those promotions for them. This is a very safe and secure app. That's something that I believe in when I'm betting, and especially using my money is a safe platform. And whether you are going to FanDuel's website or the mobile app, I can promise you that everything from top to bottom is going to be completely locked down and completely safe. And the other great thing about FanDuel specifically is that as soon as your bet hits, you get paid instantly. Guys, there is no better place to get in on all of the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston and get a no-sweat first bet, again, up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. A little disclaimer here, make sure you guys are 21 and that your state, of course, does allow you to bet. Now, moving back over here to the New England Patriots draft, I do actually have a little bit of an edit here. Now, this isn't an edit that I actually put together. This is one that Dan Mitchell, Don Mafia, who he's probably not watching this video, but if you are, big shout out to you, Dan. Over when we did these grades on the AFC East roundtable, he put these together for us. And I thought, you know what? Let's give him a little shout out here. Let's kind of reference the edit he did. So you guys will see that a little bit on here in this video. But the New England Patriots here with their first pick select cornerback Christian Gonzalez. And the best part about this is that they were sitting at 14, right? They trade down to 17. They pick up an extra fourth, and they screw over the Jets. And I know there's kind of this storyline going around that Bill Belichick only traded down to screw the Jets up. No, he didn't. It was a plus that we screwed over the Jets. But if you're telling me Bill Belichick had a player he wanted on the board, but he traded down specifically, whether he got the player he wanted or not, specifically, just to screw over the Jets, didn't care if he got his player or not, you're wrong. You're stupid. Because respectfully, the Jets are not one offensive tackle away in Broderick Jones from being absolutely dominant. Okay, that's not what this is going to be. And at the end of the day, the Patriots have bigger fish to fry than screwing over the Jets. If you're going to screw over any AFC team, you'd want to screw over the Bills. So the Patriots had an opportunity here to screw over an AFC East opponent. They did. That's great, but that is not the reason that the Patriots overall traded down. It was just a plus. So Christian Gonzalez here, picking up a fourth-round pick, screwing over an in-division rival, and getting arguably the best corner in this entire draft, straight up has to be an A+ for the Patriots. Christian Gonzalez is going to give the Patriots exactly what they need, right? Sitting at 6'1", just right there, a few centimeters under 6'2", running a 4.3 speed also. The New England Patriots are getting everything we looked for in a defensive back. A guy that can match up with faster wide receivers, a guy who can match up with taller wide receivers. You are frying many fish with one pick here. You're not just getting a guy who's going to match up speed, not just getting a guy who's going to match up with height. You are getting everything you need in one guy, not to mention that Christian Gonzalez brings exactly what the Patriots want to do. They want to play press man coverage. They want to play a lot of man-to-man coverage. That's exactly what Christian Gonzalez does. He's a very versatile cornerback also. He's a guy that can play outside. He's a guy that's also played a lot in the slot too. So the Patriots can use him a lot in mismatching situations to get the best out of Christian Gonzalez. The other thing that I love most about Christian Gonzalez is the fact that he models his game after one of the best cornerbacks to ever play under the New England Patriots, Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore was nothing before the New England Patriots had gotten him. He looked like a bust for the Buffalo Bills. Patriots bring him along, and by the end of his first year with us, he's looking like a pro cornerback. He has the intangibles like Stephon Gilmore does. They just need to be worked out. His technique needs to be worked out a little bit. But the fact that he has those same raw abilities that I saw in Gilmore and models his game after Gilmore, this has the ability to be one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League for the New England Patriots. And New England also finally gets their cornerback one. We've had several pieces, whether that's Jonathan Jones, Jack Jones, Marcus Jones. We have great pieces, but none of those guys are truly cornerback one material. And we just had pieces that we can place around. You're going to have guys playing at different roles throughout the game, but there's no true cornerback one that you can each and every single game go in and say, yeah, this guy's going to go up against the number one wide receiver. And the New England Patriots finally have that. Not to mention that Christian Gonzalez, just, arguably, again, being the number one cornerback in this draft, is still very young. He's only 20 years old. He has a lot of time to still develop and a lot of time in this league. And I think the New England Patriots overall are just getting such a dominant player. Little bit of some concerns here. How is he going to perform in the run game? I think is going to be a big question. Kind of some of those character concerns too. I think some people wonder, is this guy going to play with a chip on his shoulder? And I think he dropped lower than he should have. I think he is going to ultimately play with a chip on his shoulder. And the Patriots also have some inside information coming out of Oregon. Adrian Clem, the new offensive line coach, is a guy who obviously coached the offensive line at Oregon. So there's a little bit of insight there also. Overall, I think this is going to be a dominant pick for the Patriots. They can finally switch to playing more man-to-man defense like they wanted to and not just playing a bunch of zone. And now you have your number one guy each and every single game that can lock down somebody. So moving on here to the New England Patriots, second round and second pick of this draft, the New England Patriots go Keion White, edge. Now, I gave this one a B-, and maybe this one's a little harsh. Maybe it's not, but to me, overall, this is going to be a B- for me. I don't hate Keion White, and I think a lot of people thought during the live stream that we did not like Keion White. Keion White has a lot of potential, right? He's a tight end that transitioned in college to playing as a defensive lineman, right? He's played some interior, he's played some edge, but he's very athletic. And you can tell by a guy switching from tight end to a defensive lineman that he brings that athleticism. And that seems like that's something the Patriots value so highly in all of their players, no matter what position it is over the last couple of years, is you just being a straight up athlete. Like, if you're athletic, great. We will get you in the building and we will figure it out later. Keion White was a guy that supposedly, if they traded down in the first round, like later in the first round, they would have been comfortable taking him there. There were reports that they might have been comfortable taking him at 14. There were reports that they were looking to trade up in the second to select Keion White. And defensive linemen have been going off the board crazy in this draft. So it makes sense. This grade would have been lower if the Patriots did select him in the first. Would have been a little bit lower if they decided to trade up in the second for Keion White. I think that there were better players on the board, but I do still think Keion White is going to be a really good overall pick here for the Patriots, as I do try to pull up my information here on Keion White. I think this is a good pick for the Patriots. Do I think it's a great pick for the Patriots? No. I do believe in getting another defensive lineman. You get your number one corner. Now let's make sure we can keep this D-line and this front seven straight dominant, right? Because when you're playing against guys like Aaron Rodgers in the AFC East alone, when you're going up against guys like Josh Allen, even guys like Tua, the best way to disrupt those passing lanes is, of course, by having a dominant pass rush. And we saw that for the Patriots this past season. And why this defense, I think, took a big step forward last year was because of that pass rush. And you have a guy like Josh Uche who is in contract year, and the Patriots are going to need guys behind him. Even if guys like Josh Uche or Matt Judon get injured, you need guys behind them, and Keion White can give that to the Patriots. Now, the thing about Keion White is that this is your Patriots pick, right? This is your Patriots pick in the sense of you're getting a very well-rounded defensive lineman. There is nothing that Keion White does that's better necessarily than the other. He's a great run defender. I would say a little bit of a better run defender overall than a pass rusher, but grades very similar in both of those senses. A 75.8 overall pass rush grade, a 78.7 overall run defensive grade with a 20.1 pass rush win rate and a run stopping rate of 7.1. I don't think that Keion White's going to come in and give you the pass rush ability that Josh Uche does. I don't think that he's going to come, collapse a pocket, put up 15 sacks a season, but I think he's going to be very well-rounded and much more well-rounded than Josh Uche is going to be. But I do think that this does pretty much pin out Josh Uche kind of long-term here for the Patriots, and that he's probably leaving New England after this year. The Patriots do need somebody on the outside, though, that can not just rush the passer, but can contain mobile quarterbacks on the edge and who can contain the run on the edge, something that Josh Uche has not been able to do. The thing here that surprised me about Keion White is just the fact that, look, he's already older. He's 24 years old, but he doesn't have a lot of experience playing on the edge. Only 2 years playing as a defensive lineman in college, only played 4 games in 2021 and then played 12 in 2022. So this guy has potential. He's super athletic. He's super fast off the line. But for an older guy who's very raw at the position, it could take him a year or two to fully develop into the position, especially coming from Georgia Tech to the NFL is a massive, massive jump. So, I do have some questions, but at the end of the day, I think that there's going to be a role for him. I feel like his role, though, is a Dietrich Wise. This is a guy that can play the interior, who can play the edge, and is just going to maneuver throughout the entirety of the defensive line. Can play a 3-4 or 4-3, can play some outside linebacker. I think that his ceiling is Trey Flowers for the Patriots. Former player Trey Flowers for the New England Patriots is exactly, to me, what Keion White could be if he works his butt off. So take that as you will ultimately, but to me, I think that pick for the Patriots was a B-. Now, moving on here to the third round, the New England Patriots got linebacker/safety Marte Mapu. This is a guy that is going to play safety. Is he going to play linebacker? That's the biggest question. When the Patriots put in the card, though, they listed him actually as a linebacker, as a linebacker. So maybe that tells us that they do view him more as a linebacker. Maybe there's nothing there, but I think the versatility alone shows us that, hey, this is a guy that could very well work out for the Patriots. And we know that Marte Mapu is a guy that at least is going to play hybrid linebacker for the New England Patriots. And that's something that they need. Someone who could play a little bit in the box also. But the Patriots over the last couple of years have been looking for this athletic linebacker, right? A guy that they could play at outside linebacker or middle linebacker in the middle of the field, kind of like a Fred Warner for the 49ers, which is a name that with Marte Mapu you're going to hear all the time. He could very well fill that role. He's a guy that's decent in coverage, but his tackling ability, his eyesight to watch down the ball carrier and track the ball carrier down is absurd. The only problem with him playing linebacker alone is that he's never played straight up linebacker. He's played more hybrid linebacker and in the box, right? He doesn't have the size right now to play starting linebacker. If he's going to be a linebacker for the Patriots and not a safety, he has to pack on weight. And you guys were like, well, like how much weight does he really got to pack on? He's got to pack on like another 20 pounds, 20 to 30 pounds alone to play linebacker. Because playing linebacker, playing safety are two very different positions. You're playing closer to the line of scrimmage. So with that being said, you're kind of that second defense system for ball carriers, for scrambling quarterbacks. So you do need to have more size to you than let's say you do in the secondary, which you're kind of asked to be more of a runner, asking to be a little bit more athletic. So there is a difference there. To kind of pull up my notes here real quick on Marte Mapu real quick. As I scroll down and look for it. All right, here we go. This is also a guy too that was expected to go later. Like the first 2 picks, I think the Patriots got good value. You start to look at the rest of this draft, kind of like the midpoint of the Patriots draft. And the name of the game is that the Patriots reached, right? Marte Mapu, though, is another guy that's very raw. He's somebody that's 23 years old. So, like, not necessarily up there in age, but getting up there in age, but also very raw, right? 2 years of experience here with the Sacramento Hornets. 12 games in 2021, 13 games in 2022. The thing that I love most about Marte Mapu, though, is like he gets his hands on a guy and you're going down. This guy is fast, and once he puts one single hand on you, you're not slipping past this guy. He had a missed tackle rate of only 11.2%. This dude is an elite tackler, which again, to me, screams that he's going to either play hybrid linebacker or he's going to be switched to linebacker for the Patriots. It just makes too much sense. Whether they looked at Mack Wilson or Raekwon McMillan, they want these fast, athletic linebackers, but haven't been able to reach upon it. Maybe they think that guy is Marte Mapu. But I do look at what he kind of has played over the last 2 seasons, mainly did play box and mainly did play slot. Played slot mostly, actually, over box. But if the Patriots are going to move somebody like Kyle Duggar to free safety, or they're going to move somebody like Jabril Peppers to free safety, then they do need a guy who's going to be able to play box. So I would say that Marte Mapu's outlook is either a hybrid linebacker playing box, or he's going to just straight up be switched to linebacker. But whatever this guy does, I'm going to be super, super excited to see because, again, another position for the Patriots that you look at it and they just go straight athleticism. Now, moving on here to the 4th round is where things start to get, in my opinion, a little bit dicey for the New England Patriots. And this is my worst grade out of all of them. Jake Andrews, center. The New England Patriots decided to go with a center with their first 4th round pick. And I feel like once you hit the 4th round, you're starting to hit on players who have some abilities that you want to work with. Maybe they're a little bit more diamond in the rough than anything. But with this high of a 4th round pick, with players still left on the board, you could have gotten a day 1 impact player. And Jake Andrews, to me, is a guy that isn't going to take the field for another 2 years. Maybe David Andrews only has 1 year left in him, and maybe the Patriots know something that we don't. But I believe that David Andrews plays out the 2 years left that he has on his career. With that being said, Jake Andrews is already halfway through his rookie contract at this point. So why not get a guy that's more developmental later on in the draft? Because that's what Jake Andrews is for you. If you're not going to play him for 2 years, he essentially is a developmental player who you're taking still high in the 4th round. It doesn't make sense to me. He's a guy, too, that was expected to be around a 5th round pick. The New England Patriots reached high in the 4th round, not to mention his competition from a collegiate standpoint, how much he struggled. Now transitioning to the NFL has a lot of concern for me, right? He played for the Trojans. That's not a D1 school. He doesn't have high-end competition. Going up against higher-end D2 schools, going up against teams like Ole Miss, he had issues going up against. How are you going to transition coming into the NFL where this is high-end competition? This is more high-end than any college you're going to play. And you struggled at a D2 level. Especially from a pass blocking standpoint, Jake Andrews, a 56.5 overall grade. A run blocking grade of 77.1. He is a very good run blocker, and that's where I give this credit. A very good run blocker. But at the end of the day, I'm asking my center to do more than just block for Ramondre Stevenson. You need to protect your quarterback first and foremost. This is a pass-first league. We cannot just run the ball and build an offensive line that won't protect our quarterback, but will at least create blocks for our running backs. You're not going to succeed doing that. Jake Andrews this past season allowed 4 sacks with 4 hits and 11 hurries. There's some concern here for me. He had a great year in 2020, but since then has taken a pretty decent step backwards, and I have massive concerns for how Jake Andrews is going to transition from the collegiate level to the NFL level, and especially how is he going to be in pass blocking. Again, to me, I think that if you're looking for the future for David Andrews, which I completely understand, look in the 6th to 7th round. Get a guy next year at that point. I feel like there were better options to go than Jake Andrews at this point. But at the end of the day, Bill Belichick, I think, knows his interior offensive lineman, and I trust Bill Belichick when it comes to his interior offensive lineman. But I could see this being another Hjalte Froholdt situation where he lasts a year and then this guy's out. I just think there were better options, and to go this high for Jake Andrews did not make any sense to me. This was my worst pick for the Patriots here, and it's going to be a C-. Now, the New England Patriots, with their next 4th round pick, they trade up. They trade up with the Jets, out of all teams, to select Chad Ryland, kicker. I gave this one a B. Now, obviously, you traded up for this guy. I didn't completely understand it, but part of me did understand it, just in the sense of, look, you had Jake Moody go in the top 100 because of the 49ers. That changed the entire board, right? If you want a kicker, you have to take that kicker higher now because there's going to be teams looking to beat you out now that the best kicker is already off the board. Now, most people thought that Chad Ryland was going to be the 3rd best kicker. I thought he was the 2nd, but apparently the kind of thought process here by most was that he was the 3rd best kicker. I think the Patriots could have gotten him without having to trade up ultimately, but I at least understand their ability and why they would. I think that he's a guy that's kicked in all types of weather. And I already touched upon kind of the quote he had just by saying, I don't know exactly how the quote went, but basically just by saying, hey, look, a lot of people don't want to kick in the cold. They don't want to kick in the rain. They don't want to kick in the snow. They don't want to kick in bad weather ultimately, but I want to do it. I love to do it. And that makes a lot of sense why the Patriots drafted him just for that quote alone. But he's somebody to me that has some question marks with accuracy, right? He has a big leg. This offseason, he kicked a 59-yarder. The question marks for me, though, mainly come to how consistent is he going to be, because the Patriots don't care that much about, hey, you can kick from far, but you cannot kick consistently, even if we're asking you to kick from the 40-yard line. They want to know that you're going to be able to accurately kick the ball 9 out of 10 times, than you being able to kick it from 60 yards only 6 out of 10 times. That's why they went with Nick Folk over that kicker from Michigan, who was a UDFA that's escaping my mind again, who I know you guys will let me know in the comment section. A guy who had a lot of ability, but a guy who can never get the accuracy and consistency down, and that's what they look for first. I think that if anything, the Patriots will be able to get it out of him, but again, just some concern there for me. I think you could have gotten him later on, but he did work in the Senior Bowl, and his holder was Bryce Behringer, who the Patriots also selected as their punter. So I think that does go hand in hand together, and I do like it. But at the end of the day, the Patriots get their kicker, and you got to hope that they can work on those accuracy and consistency issues, because in the 4th round, you're asking this guy essentially to be your next kicker for the next, 5 to 10 years at least. Now, moving on here into the 4th round, the Patriots' last 4th round pick, the Patriots selected guard Sidy Sow. So this is a guy that I didn't necessarily love at the time. I've grown more on it, but I didn't necessarily understand it. The Patriots already got Jake Andrews, their center. Then 2 picks later, they go with another interior offensive lineman after they already got Cole Strange in the 1st round last year. Something that just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but Sidy Sow, man, Sidy Sow's got some potential. And ironically enough, he actually has some experience with Chad Ryland, the Patriots kicker, which I don't necessarily think that's going to go to say anything. But it is always something to say when players have experience playing with each other. But this is someone who I immediately said the Patriots are probably going to try at left tackle. And they're going to. Reports already came out after I said that the Patriots will try him at left tackle. But don't think that this is a selection of a tackle. His film on tackle was very, very subpar, and he's very, very raw at playing tackle. But at 6'5", 323 pounds, you knew that the Patriots were going to try this dude over at tackle. A lot of people are going to say Michael Onwenu. Michael Onwenu played right tackle. And playing right tackle and playing left tackle are 2 very, very different things. Why? Because playing left tackle and protecting the blind side for your quarterback is a lot harder than playing right tackle. So I think Sidy Sow is going to have an uphill battle playing at left tackle, but 100% he has the ability to. And I mean, if he doesn't, that size at guard is going to be unbelievable. He's going to be very, very hard to block. But he never has experience on the right side. Like, he hasn't played right tackle or right guard ever. He's only ever played on the left side. So with that being said, he's either playing left tackle or he's your backup to Cole Strange at that point. I don't think that this is your ultimate replacement for Michael Onwenu over on the right side. But another guy who's tested pretty well, 2 sacks this past year, 3 quarterback hits, 12 hurries, which is the only concern in terms of doesn't necessarily let the quarterback get hit, but he does let pressure on the quarterback, which is still of a concern. Another situation where he is a run blocker and not so much a pass blocker. 69.5 overall pass blocking grade with a run blocking grade of 78.4. This is a guy that, again, I do like the potential of. I do think that maybe it was a little bit of a reach, just a little bit of a reach for the Patriots. But at the end of the day, at this point, like I said, you're kind of trying to reach for diamonds in the rough. And this is a guy with the size that I think has a place somewhere on this offensive line. But again, you needed depth, more importantly, for the interior of the offensive line. You already have Cole Strange, who you used a first-round pick on last year. He has to be your starting left guard, at least for a couple more seasons. With what they're doing with the interior, you have to imagine Michael Onwenu's gone, which I don't think is a smart move at all. But even then, you have one spot open at right guard, and they went 3 interior offensive linemen, which does thrust us here into the Patriots' next pick in the 5th round after making some trades. The New England Patriots going another interior offensive lineman with Antonio Mafi. I actually like this one more than Sidy Sow. I graded this a little bit higher. This was a my guy. Patriots getting him in the 5th. They worked with him at the Shrine Bowl, so they've actually worked one-on-one with him. I'm very confident that they know what they're getting out of Antonio Mafi. He is somebody who I do look at it and say, well, what's his role going to be? Like, I think Antonio Mafi is a Michael Onwenu replacement more than a Sidy Sow is. But again, I'm just wondering how the Patriots are going to go about this. You have Cole Strange, but how are you going to get Sidy Sow on the field too? You select him in the 4th. You got to find a way to get him on there. And now Antonio Mafi in the 5th, who I think makes a lot more sense for the team. Like, how are you going to get him on the field too? That's what's lowering these grades for me, is just how are you going to get all these guys on the field? But I think in the 5th round for a guy you worked with at the Shrine Bowl does make a lot of sense. I mocked him to the Patriots in, I believe, the 6th round is where ultimately I mocked him to the Pats. But let me pull up my information here on Antonio Mafi. I think that this is about an average to a little bit above average pick for the Patriots. This is a guy that's more of a zone blocking guard than a gap type of guard, which again makes me wonder because the Patriots do run more zone than they do run gap. So I do wonder between Antonio Mafi and Sidy Sow, because Sidy Sow was more of a gap than a zone, and Antonio Mafi is more of a zone than a gap, how the Patriots are kind of going to go about that. But Antonio Mafi had the best season of his entire collegiate career this past year, and he's only gotten significantly better each and every single year, right? And he was actually asked to be a starter this past year. This was the first year he was asked to be a starter at UCLA. But in 2020, an overall grade of 56. 2021, 70. This past year, 83. This guy's getting better and better with each and every single year. Experience at left guard, experience at right guard, and only 1 snap at right tackle, but ultimately this is going to be a guard for you. I don't see him playing tackle personally. I think he's, just maybe slightly, very slightly undersized to where if they wanted him to play tackle, they could try it, but I don't think he has the size of Sidy Sow where they're necessarily inclined to at 6'4", 339 pounds. But 3 sacks allowed this past year, 2 hits, 13 quarterback hurries. And if it'll pull up, no, it's not going to let me. Overall, though, this is another situation where he's a run blocker over a pass blocker. Although he is a little bit graded above average in terms of pass blocking, 70.9 with a run blocking grade of 88.3. I think that Antonio Mafi is going to be a good guard in this league. I would have had this graded a lot higher if, again, the question marks were not there of what are the Patriots going to do with this guy. Now, moving on here to my next pick, Kayshon Boutte, baby. A freaking plus for the New England Patriots. Let me tell you, I did not think Kayshon Boutte was going to be here. This is a guy before the start of 2022 that everybody thought was going to be a first-round pick. Ultimately, he's not a first-round pick because he graded horrifically at the combine, which dropped his stock. He had a very bad year at college this past year with some character concerns off the field also, not to mention some injury concerns also. But in the 6th round, you're taking flyers, you're taking gems, you're taking diamonds in the rough. And the Patriots are getting a guy that before just the start of this past year was expected to be a first-round pick, has so much potential. This is a guy who is just under 6 foot for the Patriots also. He's somebody that I wonder is more of an outside guy than an inside guy, because ironically, as soon as they moved him to playing in the slot at LSU, he had major issues. So maybe doesn't necessarily have that ideal size at 6 foot or higher to be able to play on the outside, but we've seen guys at 5'11" be able to succeed. He has the build at 195 pounds to be able to succeed on the outside too. So I do think that this probably is more of an outside guy for the Patriots. He's a guy that I think has that explosiveness, has that speed to be able to do things very well for the Patriots in terms of not just a short to intermediate route, but actually getting some deep routes for the Patriots also. So I've touched on Kayshon Boutte a lot, so I don't want to kind of beat the bush here. We're going already 30 minutes into this video, but a guy with Kayshon Boutte that I really like. If you want to know all my overall thoughts around Kayshon Boutte or any of these prospects, I'll have the playlist link in the description below for all of the profile breakdowns for all of these players. But moving on to the next Patriots 6th round pick, they go Bryce Baringer, punter. I'm going to give this one a B+. I think that there were some better punters that the Patriots could have gone with. Michael Turk, to me, was the best punter in the draft and still available on the board right here. Some people thought Bryce Baringer was going to actually be a UDFA. Personally, I didn't believe it, but I also heard other people say that Bryce Baringer was their punter 1. So I guess it really just depends on who you are, but I think they went with Bryce Baringer over someone like Turk because, again, Bryce Baringer has that experience already holding for your kicker in Chad Ryland because they work together at the Senior Bowl. They're already familiar with each other, and that familiarity and that chemistry between punter and kicker is so important because of holding the ball, right? Kickers have a specific way that football is going to come off of their leg. They want it a specific way, whether it's a little bit left, a little bit right, a little bit forward, a little bit backwards, very specific because they know how it's going to come off their foot. And already having that chemistry with Baringer and Chad Ryland, I think is going to go such a long way. He has a really good leg. His hang time is a little bit of a concern, but somebody pointed out in the comment section of, hey, well, you don't necessarily want a massive hang time because the wind sometimes can kind of mess up that accuracy of the punt because the wind takes it depending on how high the velocity of that kick is. So there is something to say about that. Not to mention the Patriots have a lot of speed on special teams. So I'm not super worried that if his hang time's not crazy, that it's going to massively affect how the return game is affected. So not too worried there. This is a guy that I think has to work on his accuracy a little bit, but has a booming leg to be able to at least get the ball a lot farther than we've seen any Patriots punter do in the last couple of seasons since Jake Bailey had that all-pro season and made a Pro Bowl. So moving on here to another wide receiver in the 6th round, Demario Douglas, A+ for the Patriots. Again, another diamond in the rough, a guy they worked with at the Shrine Bowl too, so they know kind of how this guy operates. They worked one-on-one with him. If you liked Zay Flowers for the Patriots, you should be all in on Demario Douglas. And I actually think that Demario Douglas could have a better impact for the Patriots than Kayshon Boutte. And he's actually my favorite of those two receivers, which is a little bit of actually a hot take, I know. But he's very, very similar. His numbers, his size, his combine numbers, all of that stuff are very, very similar to what Zay Flowers actually has. So this is essentially your Walmart Zay Flowers late in the 6th round. So you should be very, very excited about Demario Douglas. Demario Douglas at 5'8" is probably mainly just going to be a slot receiver for the Patriots, but he's super quick. He also ran a 4.3 40-yard dash also, so he isn't just quick, but he's fast. Very good route runner. He's somebody that also is very, very good after the catch. Like, this will probably be your second best after the catch player behind Juju Smith-Schuster. And that's something the Patriots need, a guy who after the catch can make more of an impact. And I think that this could be the next Patriot slot receiver, the next great Patriot slot receiver. And I'm actually super, super excited to see what Demario Douglas can do. Has some experience in the return game on special teams also, but just from a player standpoint and how this franchise has kind of dealt with players of his type of caliber, they've always panned out super well. Like, this is going to be your next Jacoby Myers, Julian Edelman, Wes Welker type of guy, that next great slot receiver that's quick, runs crisp routes, gets open in the short to intermediate routes, but just does things after the catch. So excited for this one. Now, Ameer Speed, I give this one a B. This is a guy that ran a 4.3 speed, ironically. he's a special teamer. He's not going to be a defensive back. He's someone that's really, really good with tackling. He brings that height on the outside of like 6'2", 6'3". But coverage, not so great. He's also more of a zone defensive back than he is a man-to-man defensive back. So I just don't think he, with all these attributes put together, pans out very well for the Patriots in terms of being a defensive back, but he has the speed and the size to be able to have some potential there. I just think that as a gunner, as a punt and kick coverage specialist, this could be your next Patriots special teams player 2.0. And I think that there's a lot of potential there on special teams. But other than that, don't love him in coverage. Isaiah Bolden, love this pick for the Patriots in the 7th round. I gave it a B+ because it has so much potential. He's a guy that 4.3 speed. He's a guy also sits at 6'2", 6'3", just like Ameer Speed. He's a defensive back too. He's a guy that can play safety and can play cornerback and matches much better against what the Patriots want to do from a schematic standpoint defensively, and also plays better man-to-man rather than zone, and I think has better coverage ability overall than Ameer Speed does also. But the thing that could very well get him on the roster is not just his potential on defense, but it's more specifically his potential on special teams, right? He is a guy that is a kick returner, not so much a punt returner, but a kick returner, and had 3 kick return for touchdowns in his entire collegiate career. Again, a 4.3 speed. He has the speed, the size to be hard to be able to bring down. So I think that this one actually has a lot of potential for the Patriots. And as a 7th round pick, you can't argue with it at all because, again, you're just going with diamonds in the rough at this point, which overall gives my Patriots grade for the 2023 class an A-. Now, I was struggling between an A- and a B+. If you said B+, I wouldn't go against you at all. I just tried to average out what all my grades were as best as possible. A lot of those grades were A+ to B's and B+, with only a couple B- and 1 C in there. So I think it does average out to about an A- to a B+. So that's going to be my overall grade for the Patriots, though. What are your guys' thoughts on all of these players for the Patriots draft class? Let me know in the comment section below. And like always, if you want a player profile on every single one of these players, broken down, very in-depth, I'll link that plays in the description below for each and every single one of these Patriots draft picks. But without further ado, I do appreciate you guys for watching. And like always,